Hey everybody, Brandon, United Commercial Insurance. Let's talk towing in the trucking industry, towing as it relates to insurance. Let's go. Towing has been a very important aspect of the trucking industry for a long time, and it is a unique position because trucking companies are also towing companies, and towing companies are also trucking companies. And so they participate in the same industry that they're serving. And it's unique because their services are so vital, but there's been a lot of predatory fees as of late. And there's a number of times where trucking companies are left with the bill that insurance is not covering, or that their insurance policy is only rated up to a certain amount of charges or fees on the towing bill itself, right? So let's talk about some different examples that are occurring. Number one, the insurance as it relates to towing, you gotta make sure how much your insurance policy will cover in the event of a tow. For example, is it a mechanical breakdown? Most policies or many policies won't cover a tow as it relates to a mechanical breakdown. Will only cover a tow if it's an insurable event. So let's talk about what that means. If you're involved in an accident, if you hit a deer, if your truck starts on fire, if there's an electrical fire that occurs, if it's an insurable event, then typically towing is covered. But if it's a maintenance problem, if a tire blows out, if it's just a maintenance upkeep issue and the engine goes out, most often, some insurance carriers will, so it's always good to verify, but most often the insurance company will not cover the cost of a tow in those situations. Sadly, we've been in a lot of conversations where the truck company or the trucking owner or the truck driver believes that it will be covered by insurance, so they're not too concerned at the time the cost of the tow or looking at the different options available to them to take care of that vehicle that needs to get towed. So first off, verify what your insurance policy covers. Each insurance company is a little bit different. I know, for example, Great West will cover a maintenance breakdown tow bill, but you have to claim it on your policy. So that's a claim, and that's, could be an issue down the road. Progressive will not cover the tow bill if it's a maintenance situation, but if it's an insurable event, if you get into an accident, they will cover that. Now, also, some insurance companies cap the amount of towing costs that they will cover. Why is that a big deal? Well, sadly, you don't know the cost of the tow. Oftentimes includes the cleanup, how many vehicles are involved in the tow. So we've seen tow bills for well over $100,000 in the case where the tow company had to crane the vehicle out of a deep canal or canyon, or whatever that is, or if the cleanup is so extensive, that all typically is included in the tow bill. And so your insurance policy is vital. It could really drive you out of business if you have to cover the cost of that tow bill. And so verify if there's a cap. You do not want that policy if there's a cap, because if they only cap it at $20,000 or $50,000, you could be in a bad position if that's the case. You never know the type of accident that you can get into. You never know the situation, the scenario, or how bad the damage could be. Obviously, if there's auto haulers, for example, oftentimes have to clean up an environmental mess with the diesel or with the fuel that's involved in the cargo, or if there's a messy cleanup, then they could charge quite a bit of money on the tow bill. So that's a factor that you need to be concerned of as a trucking industry or as a trucking company with your insurance policy. That's super important. So let's talk about some of the issues about predatory fees and what that means. So first of all, and I don't love these words, the way they describe it, and maybe I'll think of a different way to describe it, but there's two types of tows that we're gonna talk about. One is a consensual tow, meaning the truck driver calls a tow company, they agree on the scenario, hey, I broke down outside of Salt Lake, let's tow it to this repair shop. You guys agree to that, typically you're quoted, there may be some additional fees based on unforeseen circumstances, but you generally have an idea of what that will be comprised of. Consensual towing isn't as much of a problem as the non-consensual towing, meaning if there's a breakdown, if there's an abandoned vehicle, then the police, oftentimes the state, will call and have that vehicle towed at the vehicle owner's expense. Now, this is oftentimes where predatory towing fees come into play. If no one's there and nobody knows, and you go pick up your vehicle at the junkyard, the tow lot, whatever that is, and you pick up the invoice, and it can be, for example, $9,200 for a heat charge meaning they picked it up and it was 98 degrees outside. Not that they were listening to the band, but it was 98 degrees outside and they charged a fee of $9,200. True story on that. Or how about this? One customer was charged $500 for taking cell phone photos of the accident, which is absolutely wild, right? Or a $200 snack fee that the towing company charged. And so these are some of, it's just an example, true examples, true stories of predatory towing fees that are being added on to the ultimate tow bill. So what are we gonna do about it? Well, a couple things. The American Trucking Association applauded a little bit of the government's work in identifying the problem that's going on. Some of the leaders of the FMCSA have discussed that they recognize that there's issues of predatory fees, and if this government loves anything, it's to identify and try to fix predatory invoicing or predatory type charges. And so they're looking to address it. Now, that's good and bad. Oftentimes, in my opinion, when the government gets involved, it could make the problem worse and drive up costs for everybody just for regulatory means. I don't know how they're going to fix it. I guess if they were going to do anything to fix it, I would suggest that they do the following. Like some states have already mandated that you have to itemize every invoice for what you're charging. And if some of those items are a $200 snack fee or a $9,000 heat charge, then you can dispute those. You can take them to civil court. You can dispute them between the business owners. I prefer that method over regulating what tow companies can and can't charge from a government perspective. I also want to recognize now, not all towing companies are bad actors. There's so many incredible towing companies that are just dealing with higher charges and trying to work out with the customer to say, hey, look, the cost of fuel, the cost of equipment, the cost of labor has gone up significantly. These charges are reflective of just a fair charge for the service that they're providing. There are one or two bad apples in every batch, and those are the ones you have to be aware of. In this article, it said that 82% of surveyed trucking owners have dealt with an exorbitant charge in their career. So sounds like everybody's been a part of it and they all know where they're at or what they look like, right? If you're getting a bill for thousands and thousands of dollars for something that in the past has been $1,000 or less than $1,000, you certainly should be questioning that. You certainly should be challenging that with the towing company. It's not everybody, it's not every towing company. Towing companies, like I said, are trucking companies. There's so many incredible trucking companies out there. And then there's trucking companies that are in and out and fraudulent and taking advantage of the rest of us. And so be careful with towing. Verify with your insurance agent what your towing coverages are. Maybe even get them involved if you're involved in a towing dispute. You can see if they can help out and put some additional pressure on that towing company. The hard part is oftentimes they hold your vehicle as collateral to pay that bill. And so it's incredibly frustrating, I think, for smaller companies especially. I know fleets have a little bit more power typically because they have spare vehicles or they have more leverage when it comes to their partnerships. But the owner-operator guys, the small trucking firms, they're the ones that are easily or more easily abused in these situations because they need their vehicle out immediately. They need to get it fixed. They need to move on with their company and keep it going. And so to have that vehicle held hostage for a $5,000 fee that should be $1,500, that's a tough one and it's a difficult situation. So verify what your insurance policy coverage, verify with your agent how and what situations are covered and what they need to be aware of. And then let's just all continue to be aware of these charges, and you can talk to the towing company. Hopefully there's not a situation where you have what's called a non-consensual towing situation and you don't get into these, but they're out there. You got to be careful for them. Give us a call if you want to go over your policy. We can discuss the towing issues of it. 208-229-8222. Anyway, stay safe.